Hey everyone, Adam and Andrew with It Takes Two Takes. We are here to talk about season two, more specifically the premiere of season two for Warrior. Warrior, which is it's a bit of a bittersweet moment, Adam. We may or may not have a season after this one. We don't know what it's going to lead to, but you got me interested in the first season, and here we are on board week by week for season two. Unfortunately, as quality of a show it is as it is, I don't know how many people are watching it. Our channel may have more views than this actual episode. I hope I'm wrong, because it absolutely deserves attention and it absolutely deserves a larger fan base. But here we are, episode one. Adam, what were your thoughts overall? We can maybe even tie in a little bit of the first season as we kind of talk about this, but I have thoughts, and I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to kind of revisit this storyline. For those who aren't familiar with it, just a quick little idea. This takes place in 1878, back when there was a big influx of Asian immigrants, and there was a lot of hostility from Irish and other white Americans towards this influx of Asians because they were cheaper labor, and they were worried about them kind of taking over all the jobs. And you're following a character who, in season one, he was fresh off the boat, right? So you really get a lot of that he's kind of a new to the U.S. type of feel to it. Season two, we don't get that. He's changed from season one.
He's jacked compared to the first season. Let's go with that change as well. I don't know if you caught that one.
Yeah, he's a little bit more defined than he was the first season. But at the same time, you can tell how the end of season one, the events, the tournament fight at the end of season one, how much that really impacted him psychologically. Mm-hmm. They kind of left season one like, okay, maybe he's a little bit better and back to the old Assam.
You're alive.
I'm starting to feel that way.
We find out he's really not. He's still dealing with some issues. We start off season one with him in a fighting pit. He doesn't need to be in a fighting pit. The Tong that he's part of takes care of him, but he's got issues. He wants to get better. He wants to get stronger. And it was a great fight. I mean, I don't know what you thought. That first fight, just starting the episode with that fight, I thought I love that.
Yeah, it was after, of course, watching the full episode and looking back at that first fight, it made sense because I feel like the choreography, action, to put it simply, is stepped up a bit already from what I've seen in this season compared to the first. Don't get me wrong, some great moments. If you enjoy, martial arts on film, fight sequences, there's plenty of them. But I do feel like it kind of took a bit of a step up. I don't know if you felt the same way in this episode.
Well, I feel like there's always that, when you get into a second season, there's always that, how do we up the stakes from the last season? And when you're dealing with fights, because the first season had some great fights in it, whether we're talking the brothel fight in the first episode, or we're talking the jail fight, or we're talking the any of the other number of fights, including the tournament at the end, or at the steel mill in the very last episode. There were always some great fights, right? So if they're going to, jump into this new season, to a certain extent, I had to think they were going to try and up the ante a little bit with the fights. And they did. I think this new episode, which had a few different fights in it, were all great. I enjoyed all of them. So yeah, I see what you mean though about the fights being better. I know when you watch season one, the first few episodes felt like a little overwhelming because of all the characters you get introduced to all at once. In the first episode, they only really introduced one new character, right? Which is the sister of the mayor's wife, right? That's the only new character that we really got introduced to in this new episode. Which I think makes it a little bit better because you spent most of the episode just finding out where everybody else is.
Yeah, I mean, they really did just pick up where the first season ended in terms of what's going on with these characters, aside from Sophie, the new character that you mentioned that had just come on board. But the fact that you've got Assam, he's basically still working with Young Jun, the Hopway, like he is part of that Tong and helping them. But he's also kind of moving forward with sort of his agreement that he has with a toy where he's going on and sort of getting rid of the threat.
Those who hate Asians, pretty much, right?
Yes.
That are doing violence to Asians, right? We ended the last season with, hey, I brought you a present. Here's a couple of guys that were hammering Chinese workers' hands. And this season it's, hey, so I found out about these groups. Oh, what? They like to scalp Asians? Oh, well, we should go kill them.
It's very much sort of an internal, it's almost like a vigilante / mercenary type gig for Assam. And in a way, his chemistry, I guess, or you could even say his connection with a toy is sort of what he's not getting from his sister, because they continue with that dynamic.
You also have the girl that was bought by a toy in the first season now helping out and from a fighting standpoint in the second season.
Very skilled with a blade now.
And I just want to point out, since we're talking about a toy, her outfit's got more elaborate. And
I was going to say the same thing. It's a little bit.
They're great.
Are we really talking 19th century fashion at this point? It's a bit eclectic. I don't know.
They're really neat outfits, but they definitely stepped up her wardrobe in the first episode of season 2, right?
Yeah.
Her outfits in the season 1 were nice, but nowhere close to what she was wearing in this episode. Whether it's the early part of the episode and the red outfit, or more the gold outfit in the later part of the episode. Yeah, her outfits have definitely got more. And she's at the point where season 1, she was trying to get Assam to want to help out and fight. Mm-hmm. And now she's trying to rein him in because he's going a little overboard.
I was thinking we should pay them a visit.
Not now. We've been too active lately.
I think the dynamic between those two is going to be very interesting for this season. I think we kind of know where that conflict will ultimately surface in terms of his interests and how she's kind of controlling that, to your point, and then all the other things going on in these Tong Wars. I can't imagine it ending well, because on the other hand, you've also got sort of the Irish side of things. Not just to mention
before
the police force.
Before we get into the Irish, you mentioned Mei Ling.
Yes.
So we should probably talk about that scene.
Whose costume game has also gone up a little bit to give her some credit.
Right. They're trying to make her look a little bit more badass, now that
it's almost like borderline fantasy the way they're making the dress. Maybe I need to do a little bit more research on wardrobes from that time frame. But
I misspoke about only having one new episode. There's also the woman who's running the fights, the fights that Assam is in, and her outfit is pretty elaborate also. So I think they got a little bit of a budget boost for second season is what I feel like, right?
And
because the outfits
they may
have
have even
stepped up
hired
a
a new assistant stunt coordinator as well, because I do feel like something's changed in that area for the better.
Yeah, the wardrobe's gone up, the stunts have gone up. It's definitely got more elaborate. Even the view, like when they show a view of the city, kind of like
shot where it panned up and then zoomed down towards the end of the episode. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Where it goes bird's eye view down on that second sort of pit fight.
Yes.
Yes. That caught my attention. I did a double take in that moment.
Yeah, they definitely stepped up their budget for the second season. And, the first episode was great. I loved it. But that conversation that he has with his sister was pretty intense also, right?
Not only intense, the fact that it stuck with her because she's still laying in bed thinking about it.
Right, and she's, he flat out tells her, you're going to wish that you had killed me. And then she's later on saying, maybe I'm the one who doesn't know him. Exactly. That's going to become really interesting as he kind of gets himself stronger, gets himself better, more confident. Mm-hmm. He's pushing young June to kind of step up his role also, and kind of defy his father. So and you already saw the seeds of that even before he had a conversation with Assam, because young June he's much more impulsive. He doesn't like this idea that we're just going to wait for Mei Ling to make a mistake, right?
Right.
His attitude is, we just need to deal with it. Like, we just need to go to war or whatever. We just need to go kill him. That's all we need to do. And
he's impulsive. He's not necessarily a leader, and Assam, I think, can kind of find a way to utilize that. We'll see. It kind of is already happening, I guess, to a degree.
He's pushing young June in a direction he wants to go. Mm-hmm. And so it'll be interesting to see how things go with this season, even between those two guys, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's still a strong connection. Like, you get at the end where near the end where June is waiting up for Assam because he's like, you didn't come home last night. I thought something happened to you. So you still see that almost like brotherly like connection between them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with their dynamic this season as well. But to jump off of the Asian part of the cast and more over into the white cast, so to speak, we got an update on the cops who are still looking for that mysterious swordsman who's killing people.
O'Hara is still doing some sort of debt collector type work for Zing.
Right.
So,
and Lee is apparently dealing with some anger and after effects from the beating he took in the first season.
Yep.
It also sounds like whatever medication he's on isn't helping him any. So it'll be interesting to see because he snapped at his chief of police or whatever, his captain. It's like, whoa,
Which I find interesting because he didn't seem to be snapping after he killed several men and fled the East Coast to get over into California. There was a very real conversation in the first season about what led to that. And it was understandable, but getting his ass kicked kind of messed with his head. I thought that was, I don't know.
Well, he took a beating to the head, and that's what it sounds like. Whatever damage happened to his head is affecting him.
Right.
So I think it is directly related from a medical standpoint.
Not from a trauma, like mental trauma, but from physical. Yeah.
And as you said, the one cop is still acting as a debt collector.
O'Hara's such an interesting character to me because I feel like as the episodes progress, even in the first season and even in this one especially, like I feel like this dude is just always on borrowed time. Like there's no reason I would never be surprised if he died on any given episode. It's just he is just begging, borrowing, just making ends meet at every possible moment, and at some point it's going to run out for the guy.
Right. The Irish are stepping up their game.
Yeah, Leary is kind of leading his whole sort of Irish mob. You've got the Teddy Boys. There's this whole, very intense moment of them essentially going to be hanging a Chinaman, like right there in front of everyone. So yeah.
And then you also found out Leary. We got a little bit more backstory on Leary because we found out his wife and kids are dead. Mm-hmm. So he really doesn't have anything to lose, right?
Which, speaking of new characters, you mentioned Sophie. That intro sort of moment where he's, reintroduced for the second season and Sophie kind of interacts with him. There was this moment of sort of, you almost have a realization that like maybe he's like a lot of these characters, maybe he's not so much the bad guy, although he probably will be just from circumstance, but he's also just one of those people that based on circumstance, he is doing what he believes is the best thing he could possibly do for himself and those around him.
Right.
Because there was sort of a human kind of moment for the first time, I feel like, for his character there.
Well, and I think we really get to see, as I think things unfold, the deputy mayor acting as kind of the puppet master of all the events. Ultimately, he's really the bad guy, right? He's using the Irish. He's using Mei Ling. He's using everyone for the mayor. He's using everyone for his own needs, right? I'm waiting for something to happen with him, right? Because he can't keep pulling the strings and not have any consequences at any point.
Add him to whatever list it is with O'Hara. Something they're going to get their dues.
And we haven't found out though. He's got that missing leg. We never found out how he lost that leg, so maybe they'll go into that a little bit in this season.
We also never figured out why did he vomit in that last episode of season 1? Like what was that fear?
Right.
Or was that, I thought they were leading to something with that. I don't know. His character to me has been somewhat underdeveloped and maybe intentionally so.
Well, in this episode, he picks up a hooker.
Right.
Yeah. But very discreetly.
Very discreetly.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with these characters. The mayor and his wife are definitely having some fireworks going on because...
No surprise there.
She's running the company that is currently contracted to the city, and he wants her to give up the company or at least, if nothing else, stop hiring immigrant workers. But her attitude is, you pay me better and I can hire, better, other workers. But... it definitely is creating some tension there, and I think that's going to get, ramped up in this season. Yeah, the first episode really had a lot, I think, happened at the same time, not being too overloaded, with the fights actually being almost like a pause between the story.
I agree. I would say compared to and I know I'm comparing one episode with an entire season regarding season one, but what if I had any sort of nitpick about season one, it was just that there were times that there were some missteps in terms of pacing, and really just sort of the way that they chose to pace out certain character development, or the way that the episode itself would pace. So I feel like this episode moved along very well, and that could be a credit to some adjustments that were made between seasons. That could also be a credit to the fact that we've kind of served our exposition in season one. We've done a lot of world building, character building, and now we have a moment to just develop. We can develop these characters, get deeper into what it all means for them individually and what it means for the scope of these Tong Wars and so on and so forth. I'm enjoying what I've seen from this season. It gives me even more promise for this season than the last. And again, going back to my very early comments when we kicked off this video, bittersweet would be a way I would put it for this.
Yeah, I was really captured in the first season right away on the from the first episode. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a interesting world and everything like that. And I feel like we're definitely diving with this episode deeper into that world. Whether it be because we got more of that overhead shot, apparently there's a ship in the middle of the city, because when you got that overhead shot, you see that it's at least a few blocks away from the coastline. We also got a little bit of the seedier side of the white area as well. The first season we mainly dealt with Chinatown, and we only got kind of the aristocrat version to a certain extent of the white area of San Francisco. Well, now we also get into a little bit more of the seedy area, it looked like, of San Francisco from the white population.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to allow for a lot of different extra characters to possibly pop up. Even if they're just, throwaway characters, I think they've definitely expanded the world enough that it could be really interesting this season. If this is the last season, it's going to be very bittersweet for me, because I'm getting pulled more into this world with the new season than I was the last season.
Listen, Adam, season one of Warrior didn't get marketed well, but this channel didn't even exist. You and I having this conversation wasn't even a thing when it was originally airing. The difference maker, let's be honest, is us talking about it right now. We're the catalyst.
Oh yeah, our 32 subscribers are just going to help blow this up.
For Cinemax, it might be a huge jump in market. I don't know.
All right, so I think for first episode, really happy with it. Think it's going great, and I can't wait for next week's episode. And we'll be doing this every week, just kind of like what we've been doing with the boys. We'll do weekly updates on the episodes and get them out there. And I'm interested what everyone else's thought is. And if you haven't seen Warrior Season 1, check it out. I think it's definitely worth watching.
I'll throw out an appeal to you TV lovers out there. If you're, say, a big fan of like Peaky Blinders, you could even say like Into the Badlands, but I'm trying to go with a little bit more of a sort of something that reminds me a lot of is Peaky Blinders in terms of all the different factions and gangs and the wars and things during this sort of era. Check it out if you want to sort of experience Peaky Blinders, but with martial arts, and really a part of American history that really didn't get taught to many of us at the grade school age. It's interesting to actually see what was really going on versus completely glossing over a lot of this.
And if nothing else, also keep in mind that this is based on the writings of Bruce Lee. So
it is.
That's another selling factor for you, at least to check it out. I definitely recommend it. Everyone I've introduced it to has loved the series, so definitely recommend. 2 thumbs up.
We've got it all figured out in terms of how to pitch and sell the show that is Warrior. We're still trying to figure out how to pitch and sell this show, this channel, but we got Warrior down. You need to check that out.
And until next week, you know what to do. And if you like this video and you like Warrior, share this video. Get more people into it. And share the trailer for Warrior. Get people into it that way. post it on your social media, some of the season 1 trailer or season 2 trailer, get people interested. Because if you like Warrior and you want to see it keep going, the only possibility that has to happen is probably if it blows up, and it needs the exposure for that to happen. Until next week, this has been It Takes Two Takes.
Hey everyone, Andrew with It Takes Two Takes. We're playing some royalty-free music, so don't even bother Shazamming that one. We got videos over here I think you're going to enjoy, and there's a button over here I'm going to enjoy. Let's make this all work together, right? Please subscribe. Check out what else we have going on. Thanks for watching.